This is my first video update coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Monday, late morning. Let's talk about some news. And we had an earthquake here in Cyprus, 3:30 in the middle of the night. I absolutely felt the earthquake. It woke me up. It was strong. It was strong and it lasted for a good minute. The epicenter of that earthquake was in south central Turkey, as well as a lot of damage in Syria as well. And so most of the damage was in central Turkey and Syria. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Turkey and Syria, but we absolutely felt it here in Cyprus. So far, I haven't heard anything about any extensive damage or anything like that in Cyprus as of yet. And it's pretty much business as usual here, but people felt it. They absolutely felt it, and it did last a long time. I mean, it was shaking for a good minute in the middle of the night. Anyway, we had presidential elections here as well, and the first round of presidential elections, and the ex-foreign minister, Christoforou, came out on top with around 33% of the vote. And career diplomat Mavroyiannis, he came out with around 29% of the votes. So those two men will be facing off against each other this coming Sunday. And Christoforou, the ex-foreign minister, is running as an independent. And Mavroyiannis is running with the support of the Akel party, which is, I guess you could describe them as a socialist left party. So that's the update there with the presidential elections. My hunch is that the ex-foreign minister who's running as an independent, Christoforou, he will come out on top this coming Sunday. That's just my feeling, my hunch as to what's going to happen, which would be interesting to have an independent candidate win the presidential election. That would definitely be an interesting development. Speaking about presidents, how about Joe Bidenopoulos and the spy balloon / weather balloon? And so Joe Bidenopoulos, he came out with a statement Friday, I believe he came out with a statement, and he said that he had ordered the military to shoot down the balloon. Days earlier, like midweek, he had ordered the military to take the balloon down, to shoot it down, but the military apparently overruled the U.S. president, and they waited for the balloon to come over the Atlantic Ocean, and then they shot the balloon down when it was over the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm sure the military now is collecting, or has collected. Definitely, they've collected the debris of this balloon. And I'm also pretty positive that the military is not going to tell us whether this was indeed a spy balloon or a weather balloon that veered off course, like the Chinese claim. And the U.S. Department of Defense, they're going to keep this very hush-hush because they're going to want the fear and panic of the spy balloon, the Chinese spy balloon narrative to kind of linger, because it serves their interests as they prepare for some sort of conflict with China in the future. So Biden was a little bit embarrassed there with the whole balloon incident, because it kind of made him look a little bit weak when he gives the orders to shoot down the balloon, and the military overrules him. And so the media, the mainstream media, they started running interference for Biden, and they came out with stories saying that, when Trump was president, we had 3 or 4 balloons flying over the U.S. and Trump didn't do anything. And Trump came out with a statement, and he said, "No, we didn't. We didn't have 3 or 4 balloons, spy balloons, flying over the U.S. And if we did have spy balloons flying over the U.S., I would shoot those balloons down." That is what Trump said. And then Trump had Trump's, I believe, NSA. He was the NSA guy, Ratcliffe. His intel guy, Ratcliffe, came out and he said, "We never had any spy balloons over the United States when I was in the Trump administration. And if we did, we would have shot those balloons down." And so you have this kind of mini balloon controversy where the mainstream media, in order to not make Biden look weak, they're trying to come out with the narrative that, well, Trump also was weak because 3 or 4 balloons were over the United States and he did nothing. And Trump is coming out and saying, "No, that's not the case. If there were balloons over the U.S., I would shoot those balloons down." And so you have this mini story, this mini narrative about the balloons, which is taking place between Trump and Biden. They're trying to cover up for Biden because he got overruled by his military, it seems. Not that this should be any surprise that the military kind of ignored Biden's orders. Anyway, that's the balloon story. Hopefully we won't have any more balloon stories in the near future. I can't believe that so much time was dedicated to a balloon flying over the United States. So in Ukraine, we have some more purge news to talk about. And it looks like the defense minister, Zelensky ally Reznikov, is on his way out. And this guy, Reznikov, I actually said that I said about a week ago that Reznikov is going to most likely get the axe. He was spared being fired from the first 2 purges that took place in Kiev. But it looks like this time around, he's going to be replaced as the Minister of Defense. They're going to put someone else in as Minister of Defense. Most likely, if you believe the rumors, it'll be Budanov, who is the military intel chief. He's the guy that was calling for the Balkanization of the Russian Federation, that Russia should be dissected into 5 different countries. And he was talking about how the Ukraine military, they're going to launch strikes into Crimea and Moscow, and that Russians should be aware that the Ukraine military is going to be launching attacks into the Russian Federation. This is the guy that they say is going to become the next Minister of Defense, a very hawkish guy, Budanov. And Reznikov, he was the guy that was implicated in the food supplies scandal that broke out last week, where there was a media investigation in Ukraine, and they found out that Reznikov ordered $400 million worth of food supplies, but the pricing of those food supplies was way above the actual price for this food in the local markets in Ukraine. And so it was obvious that this was textbook corruption to price the food that high, and then take the money out of the military budget to purchase that food. And Reznikov was not axed. Last week during the purge in Kiev, but it looks like he's done for this time around. And what else? There are rumors, I can't confirm this, there are rumors that the Zelensky regime, well, we know that this is confirmed, they are going to be extending martial law for another 90 days, but there are rumors that the Zelensky regime is dropping the age of conscription, of military recruitment, down to 16 years old. I haven't been able to double check this, but these are some of the rumors coming out with regards to to the Ukraine military. If that is indeed the case, that is not a good sign. That is not a good sign at all that they're going to be recruiting 16-year-olds to fight in the front lines. We have the story about Georgia. This is an interesting story. The Georgian government, they were thinking about opening up flights again to Russia. They had followed the EU's lead on closing all airspace, all air travel to the Russian Federation. But now it looks like Georgia was considering opening up flights again from Georgia, Tbilisi to Moscow and St. Petersburg and Russia in general. And it makes sense because Georgia has a lot of tourism from Russia, like a lot of tourism from Russians traveling to Georgia, and Russians who live in Georgia as well, and Georgians who live in Russia. And it looks like the State Department of the U.S., they got wind of this. Obviously, they got wind of this. And they kind of threatened Georgia in a way. They kind of told Georgia, don't you dare open up flights again to Russia. And the European Union as well, they kind of gave a warning to Georgia. The European Union calls on Georgia to join the sanctions against Russia in the aviation sector and to remain vigilant against any possible attempts to circumvent the sanction. A spokesman for the bloc's External Action Service told Georgia's Net Gazette news site on Saturday. He added that the EU is considering imposing sanctions on countries attempting to circumvent its sanctions on Russia, including by allowing air travel. What kind of sovereignty is that when you have the European Union or the US Department of State telling your country who it can open up flights to and who it can't? That is pretty sad, I have to admit. That is absolutely sad. They're actually saying that they're going to place sanctions on countries that dare to open up the air travel to the Russian Federation. It's pretty incredible. Georgia should not have gone along with the EU sanctions to begin with, because Georgia is not an EU member state, so they shouldn't have followed those air restriction sanctions. But now that they followed those air restriction sanctions, the EU says, now we got you. Now we got you. We see that you're weak. We see that we can order you around. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to order you around, and we're going to take away your sovereignty. What a bad deal. You're not even in the European Union, and you've already lost your sovereignty to the European Union. That is a pretty bad deal indeed. Really bad. So that's the story there with Georgia. And I've got a clown world to get to, as it is raining here. And I'm just seeing if I have another story to get to. We do have some more bullying this time taking place with Turkey. So Turkey, they've said that Sweden is not going to get their vote to enter into NATO. And now we have the response from the United States towards Turkey with regards to Sweden and NATO. And the US, they have said that they will not support Turkey's $20 billion purchase of F-16 fighter jets, the sale of F-16 fighter jets to Turkey, unless Turkey decides to change their vote from a no to a yes with Sweden and NATO. So that is the US response to Turkey's decision to vote, allegedly to vote no for Swedish membership into the NATO alliance. They said Finland's okay, but Sweden is a no-go. And so the U.S. is saying, well, if you continue to vote no for Sweden, then we're not going to sell you any F-16s. let's wait and see how Erdogan responds to that response from the United States. There definitely is a negotiation that is taking place. You can definitely see a negotiation between the United States and Turkey taking place here. And eventually, I believe, my hunch is that eventually you're going to get a deal and Turkey is going to say yes to Sweden. That's just my hunch, because now you have the F-16s that have been put on the table. And I think this is what Erdogan was leading up to. This is where Erdogan wanted to take this process with NATO membership. He wanted to get to the F-16 issue, and he's got it now. It's now on the table, and so we're going to see a negotiation here. And Sweden's membership into NATO, I think that eventually that will get approved, and eventually Turkey's going to get the F-16s, and everyone's going to get what they want at the end of the day here. So that is the update there, and I don't really have anything else to report, to be quite honest. I think we've reported most of the stories over the weekend. Let's do a clown world, and we'll wrap up this video and get this video up. In Germany, we have the government considering diverting green subsidies to arms production. This is according to Bloomberg. Germany may use funds intended for the phasing out of coal-fired power plants to help defense companies build additional production facilities, Bloomberg reported on Friday, citing people familiar with the matter. According to the report, the measure is being discussed between the government in Berlin and regional authorities in Germany's individual states. The move would allow manufacturers to make more weapons and ammunition, as well as create jobs in the areas worst affected by the shift from coal. It comes as Western countries are ramping up military aid to Kiev. Germany pledged last month to deliver Leopard 2 main battle tanks and Marder armored vehicles to Ukraine. Berlin also allowed companies this week to transfer the older Leopard 1 tanks. So the reason this is a clown world for today is because in Germany you have the very strong presence of Green Party members in the Scholz government, Annalena Baerbock and Robert Habeck. Some people say that those two individuals are actually the ones pulling the strings and running the show. And so you have Green Party members at top-level positions in the German government, and their number one priority is one of their main priorities is to take money that was earmarked for green initiatives and green subsidies and move them over to weapons manufacturing. What kind of a Green Party is that? What kind of a Green Party is Habeck and Annalena a part of? Man, that is some Green Party there. Forget about green subsidies. Let's pour that money into weapons manufacturing. Yeah, the Green Party is without a doubt the party of war. No doubt about it. At least in Germany, the Green Party is the party of war. Anyway, I am going to wrap up this video from Nicosia. We are on Locals, the Duran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well. Go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.